Recorded Books and One-Click Digital present Leave Me by Gayle Forman. Narrated by Eva Kaminsky. New York City. Chapter 1. Maribeth Klein was working late, waiting to sign off on the final page proofs of the December issue, when she had a heart attack. Those first twinges in her chest, however, were more a heaviness than a pain, and she did not immediately think heart. She thought indigestion, brought on by the plate of greasy Chinese food she'd eaten at her desk the hour before. She thought anxiety, brought on by the length of tomorrow's to-do list. She thought irritation, brought on by the conversation with her husband, Jason, who, when she'd called earlier, was having a dance party with Oscar and Liv, even though their downstairs neighbor, Earl Jablonski, would complain, and even though keeping the twins up past 8 upped the odds that one of them would wake in the night, and wake her up too. But not her heart. She was 44 years old, overtaxed and overtired, but show her a working mother who wasn't. Besides, Maribeth Klein was the sort of woman who, when she heard hoofbeats, did not think zebras, let alone horses. She thought someone had left the TV on too loud. So when her heart began seizing, Maribeth merely excavated a bottle of Tums from her desk and sucked on them while willing Elizabeth's office door to open. But the door remained shut while Elizabeth and Jacqueline, Frapp's creative director, debated whether or not to tweak the cover, now that sex tapes of the famous young actress gracing it had emerged on the internet. An hour later, the decision was made, and the last of the proofs were signed off on and shipped to the printer. Before leaving, Maribeth stopped by Elizabeth's office to say goodbye, which she immediately regretted. Not just because Elizabeth, noting the hour, remarked how tired Maribeth looked, and offered her a car service voucher home, a kindness that embarrassed Maribeth, though not enough to decline it, but because Elizabeth and Jacqueline had been deep in conversation about dinner plans, and had stopped talking as soon as Maribeth entered the room, as if they'd been post-gaming a party to which she hadn't been invited. At home, she fell into a fitful sleep, waking up with Oscar sprawled on the bed next to her and Jason already gone. And even though she felt worse than she had the night before, exhausted and nauseous from the poor night's sleep and the Chinese food, she assumed, but with her jaw aching too, for reasons she did not understand, though she would later learn that these were all actually signs of her ongoing heart attack, she dragged herself out of bed and somehow got Liv and Oscar dressed, and walked the 10 blocks to Bright Start Preschool, where she maneuvered the gauntlet of other mothers, who regarded her with a cool condescension, because, she suspected, she only did drop-offs on Fridays. Jason handled the other mornings, something the Bright Start mothers positively lionized him for, so that Maribeth could get to her desk early enough to leave by 4:30. A short workday, Elizabeth had promised. Fridays off. This was 2 years ago, after Elizabeth had been anointed editor-in-chief of Frapp, a new and well-funded celebrity lifestyle magazine. And those were the bright, shiny apples she'd used to lure Maribeth back to full-time work. Well, those and the ample salary, which she and Jason needed to pay for the twins' upcoming preschool, the cost of which, Jason had joked, was exorbitant squared. At the time, Maribeth was freelancing from home, but not earning anything like a full-time salary. As for Jason's job at a non-profit music archive, well, the tuition would have eaten half of his annual take. There was an inheritance from Maribeth's father, but generous as it had been, it would have covered only 1 year. And what if they didn't get a spot at the public pre-K, the odds of which, people claimed, were worse than getting into Harvard? They really needed the money. Though the truth was, even if preschool had been free, like it was in France, apparently, Maribeth suspected she would have taken the job, just for the chance to finally work side by side with a little...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?